Mayor Puckett?
Yes.
It's kind of dark.
We are live. All right. Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. This special virtual emergency meeting for the city of Opa-locka is now called to order. This is the emergency special meeting pursuant to section 2-30 of the city of Opa-locka. To the public and all those involved. This is a time in which we are coming together to discuss some items in relation to the state of emergency that we're currently in with COVID-19. On March 13th, we declared a city state of emergency within the city of Opa-locka, and we granted the manager some powers. And today we're going to discuss some other items that we need to address for the safety and well-being of our citizenry. So with that said, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Bass.
Commissioner Bass, you have to unmute your mic to let the clerk know that you're here.
I'm here.
Commissioner Burke.
Here.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Here.
Commissioner Kelly.
I'm present.
Mayor Puckett.
I am here. Commissioner Bass, could you lead us in invocation?
Father, we thank you for this is the day that you have truly made, God. We just ask you, Lord God, that you would just look upon the world at large, Father God, every continent, Lord. You know what we are experiencing right now, Lord God, as a people, Lord. We ask you that your grace and your mercy will apply, Father God, across the world today. And Father God, that we will come to know you, Lord God, as never before, God. Continue to be with us, bless us. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America.
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and
justice.
justice for all.
All right. Pursuant to Executive Order number 2069 issued by the Office of Governor Ron DeSantis on March 20th, 2020, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communication media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing. As provided by section 120.545B2 Florida statutes, the members of the City Commission appearing remotely for this meeting are Vice Mayor Davis, Commissioner Bass, Commissioner Burke, Commissioner Kelly, and myself, Mayor Puckett. An opportunity was given to the public to email the city clerk prior to the commission meeting with any questions, comments, concerns on items we will hear on this evening's emergency special meeting agenda. This meeting is being streamed live on YouTube / City of Opa-locka YouTube channel. As of 5 p.m., we have received the following requests to speak from the public. At the moment, there are no speakers. Madam Clerk, do you receive any speakers?
No, Mr. Mayor, I have not received any.
All right. So since this is a virtual meeting as authorized by the governor of the state of Florida, again, members of the public wishing to address the commission have been offered the opportunity to do so. If there have been any comments, they will be included as part of the public record for this virtual meeting and would have been considered by the city commission prior to any action taken. To my members of the commission, please make sure you use the buttons on your devices to speak, as this is a virtual meeting and we must record everything. There are a few matters on the agenda. Due to, at the moment, there needs to be an amendment to the order of this agenda. So I would like to make a motion to move resolution 6-1 into an ordinance, and items number 2 and 3 will be heard in that order. Can I get a motion to amend the agenda?
Move it.
All right, moved by Vice Mayor Davis.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bass. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Burke.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, Madam Attorney, on first item.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, granting the city manager certain powers to act on behalf of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida for emergency purposes due to novel coronavirus disease 2019, COVID 2019, providing for the adoption of representations, providing for an effective date. This is sponsored by the city manager.
Move for discussion.
All right, moved by Commissioner Burke,
Second for discussion.
second by Vice Mayor Davis. The floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
okay, I have a problem with this. Whereas, I guess now that we can hold meetings, virtual meetings, I don't think this would be necessary. What really bothers me is the part where it says we will grant the city manager certain authority to act under the state of emergency to do whatever is necessary without the consent of the city commission. I have a problem with that. And being as before, when we couldn't have meetings, that might have worked. But now that we can have emergency meetings, I don't think that's necessary. Anything that we need to do, we can be notified, and we can be online within 24 hours. Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. I would not support this item, and I'm very frustrated to see what's taking place. Over 2 weeks ago, I spoke to the manager on several occasions about curfews, about certain things, trying to meet. I even tried to call a meeting, only to be told that the manager already had the power to do this and do that, only to come back now to find out with these items. I am not in favor of granting these powers because, in my opinion, the manager already has the authority to do something that would fall in emergency and do exactly what he's asking us to do on resolution number 3, which is to come back and ratify it if something needed to be done. So I'm not going to support it because I think, in my opinion, anything that deals with this city, as my colleague said, we're virtual now. You can call a meeting if need be, and all it would take is 3 to get something done. But if it was something dealing with health or life, he already has the power. He's done it on several occasions where he's done stuff and asked the commission to come back and ratify it later. So I would not support this item because I don't like the fact the way the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks have transpired with getting things done in this city as it relates to the coronavirus. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Attorney, based upon the questions that were raised by Commissioner Burke and Commissioner Kelly, does the manager currently have the power to implement a curfew within the city of Opa-locka?
The manager does not have the power to implement a curfew.
Okay, and let's say, for instance, certain businesses are shut down per the state or the county. Does the manager have the power to implement that within the city of Opa-locka currently?
I'm not sure of your question, Mr. Mayor. If you say certain businesses are shut down, I don't know. I don't know what you mean in particular. And Miami-Dade County, for instance, Miami-Dade County currently has certain restrictions that are in place. They have issued a number of different orders that apply to the city of Opa-locka in terms of closure of businesses.
Okay. So I guess my concern is right now we're dealing with a international crisis that is changing from day to day. And all across the nation, from the federal government to the county. There are executive orders that are being issued without the legislative arm meeting due to the impact of congregations and also the delay in getting, I guess, emergency orders in play. And I am in full support of making sure that the manager has the ability to execute on items that come up. Right now, we're currently in a state of emergency, and this is something that none of us have ever experienced before. So to limit the reaction time of this government, to me, affects the safety and well-being of our residents. So I am happy to see that this is actually being put on before us. And I would like to really hear some of the issues that my colleagues are afraid of the city manager going beyond his powers, because at the end of the day, whatever the city manager has acted upon, we as a commission have the authority to, number one, overturn, and two, to also address those with the city manager in a public forum. So I'm
Mr. Mayor,
I'm a little concerned about not granting the manager these powers to act so immediately. Something may happen overnight, something may happen over the weekend, and the ability for the city clerk, the city attorney to draft legislation, to call a meeting, for IT to come together, to put a meeting together. Those things take time. They literally take time to do. And if we need to act, we're going to be limited based upon the actual ability of IT, of the city clerk, the city attorney, and the city managers do all the things they need to do to bring us together, and also us coming together on this video to do so. Somebody may get sick, some issues may happen. We don't know what could possibly happen. So I'm concerned about the hesitation to provide the manager ability to act immediately and swiftly in regards to this. This is in almost any organizational structure, you usually have someone that can make decisions quickly in times of need. And for the fact that we need to have 5 people come together to make quick decisions, that's yeah, I'm worried about us moving down that road and not giving the manager, who we actually just put in office because we believed in him, the ability to act in alignment with the county, other cities, and what needs to be done within the city based upon what is going on currently on the ground. So that is my remarks in regards to this. I say I'm in full support. And if there needs to be an amendment to at a regular commission meeting to ratify all these items so the commission can decide whether or not to state them implemented, whatever the case we need to do, I strongly believe we need to make sure that the manager has the ability to make quick decisions in this time of crisis, just in case. So that is my piece. Commissioner Kelly.
I just want to be heard when you finish.
Yeah, so do I.
Hello?
You have the floor, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. First of all, you're mixing two things. We're on item number 2. We're doing the powers to act. We're not doing the curfew. That's now an ordinance. So that's 2 separate issues. The second thing is, I tried over the last 2.5 weeks to do exactly what's happening now, and to no avail, only to be told through email that all of us received the manager had the power to do and act and could come back and get it ratified. Now we see today saying we need to give him power to do something. I am not in support of it. I don't have a comfort level because the things that we're doing now should have been done 2 or 3 weeks ago when I first brought them to the manager's attention. So I don't have a comfort level that things will be done, but let me ask a question, Mr. Mayor, to the city attorney. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, that's the question, Commissioner Kelly.
To the city attorney.
Yes, sir.
Madam Attorney, there's nothing that precludes the manager for taking any action that regards to health, life, or safety in this city at any point, even if we didn't pass this. Am I correct? Because he's the CEO.
Well, actually, there are some, you all haven't granted him in that first ordinance that you, or resolution that you passed, that was a resolution really dealing with specific things like allowing him the authority to receive FEMA dollars, allowing him requiring him to produce a report within 30 days regarding emergency plans regarding coronavirus. There were things like that. So they were very specific. In some cities, there are specific things within the charter or the code or it's passed by the commission that allows the manager to do certain things. And so here, you know, with the last, for instance, with what you did with urging a stay in place order for residents, that's a little bit different because it was urging. And, you know, that again, but that was not necessarily my recommendation. But when we're dealing with curfews and different things like that, I believe that you either need to grant the manager more authority or certainly meet, as some of you are suggesting, as needed to deal with emergencies as they arise. But you do not, the manager doesn't just have blanket authority unless you give it to him. And so
No, not blanket authority. He has authority, as the mayor mentioned, if something happens overnight. He doesn't have authority to deal with it. And I believe he does have authority to deal with it because he can come back, just like we're doing in number 3, to get it ratified. And obviously, because we're doing viral, he can also call a meeting within 24 hours, like this one was called within 24 hours, basically less than that, in my opinion, to deal with whatever issues. I'm not talking about a curfew. I'm talking strictly about giving him certain powers. If there's something that occurs overnight or over the weekend, as city manager, he has the authority to deal with that and come back and get ratification anyway.
Those normally deal with purchasing powers that are under your code that the manager has. But in terms of just the kind of things that you all may be thinking about, in order to do it safely and legally, somehow cities will have given that authority to the manager. And so that's the difference. He doesn't just have other authority that's outside of your code. And I'm looking at it right now. And so some of those things relate to emergency powers, really purchasing type things and issues that would you know, deal with some of those things. Now you can have situations where if he has to act, he can, you know, be ratified if there's a contract that has to be signed and a grant that has to be gotten, and that's the only, you're going to lose it. You know, he could certainly do that and come back and have it ratified. But what this resolution would do is to grant him without us having to guess about it, without us having to stretch on trying to read in statutes or anything like that. This would actually give him that specific authority, and you'll be making your intent clear. So if, you know, I just don't want you to walk into a situation where you're always, you know, dealing with, you know, a ratification. Either you give it to him or you don't give it to him, but it should be something that's clear. It's where he knows how to conduct himself.
Well, I'm of the opinion, thank you. I'm of the opinion, anything that rises to that level, this commission needs to be made aware of it anyway. And I don't have a comfort level because I've had discussion with the manager previously on all of these things, and they just got slowed up and held up, it appeared, until it got a blessing from other folks. So I want to be in the loop to know what exactly going on. I think all of us are available given the dynamics of what's happening for a meeting, just like we are here on a Friday at 5:30, only to be notified from, you know, this morning. So I think we can make ourselves available if that need should arise. And anything that the manager has to do under emergency, he can do just like we're doing now, ratifying the implementation. That's, the order from the resolution number 3. So again, that's my take on it, but that's totally different from the curfew. We keep saying curfew, and I don't want to mingle those two together because they're two separate issues. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the time.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
Yes, Manager Pate.
With all due respect, the reason items have not been done, such as items that are being heard today, is because I was directed by the city attorney that I do not have the authority to issue a curfew, do not have the authority to make changes such as the ones being implemented tonight, which is why those items have not been moved on. Initially, I was told, okay, you can move on the items. Then the opinion was provided that the commission needed to authorize the items. So this is why we're here tonight. I was given legal advice that I did not have the authority to do and done. So and there was a legal recommendation provided that with certain items that I should not act on certain items and wait for the commission to ratify them. So the recommendation was for this to occur. The recommendation was given not to institute curfew, not to institute certain things with ratification. And so this is why we're here today, based on legal opinion from our counsel, strictly. And before I move on anything, the council reviews it. If anything needs to be drafted as far as emergency orders, it goes through the council. As that in our charter, I do not have the authority. The same authority, by the way, that almost every city manager in this area has the authority to do local emergency orders without their commission's approval or with future ratification. So as you all know, this is a very fluid situation here. The governor's office in Miami-Dade County, they amend, shift, create, and edit their orders almost on a daily basis. And if I'm being told I don't have the authority to move to do it, then I'm going to seek permission from my bosses, from the commission. And so this is not on the agenda, not because it took 3 weeks for me to do anything, not because now I'm being told or I have an agreement by a majority for these things to be done. These things weren't done because I was given legal opinion that I did not have the authority to do them. That is why these items are on the agenda tonight. If I had the authority to do them, they would have been done.
And Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Weeks?
Yes. So in this case, with the curfew just came up. If it had not just come up, it could have been on the first. It could have been up the first time that you dealt with resolutions, and specifically a resolution giving the manager certain authority. It could have been dealt with at a subsequent time. So these are issues that are just coming up. And so the issue of the curfew, for instance, was an issue that was previously slated to be on the Wednesday agenda. It has been moved up tonight because it is seen to be an emergency. So Mr. Manager is correct in that my advice to him consistently has been, we first of all need to coordinate with the county. That's what needs to happen because we don't have our own emergency operation procedures. And so really we fall under, per statute, we fall under coordination and having to coordinate with the county. My advice had been to fall under the rules, orders, and regulations of the county. In fact, that the county has now kind of caught up to what you all will be maybe ratifying this evening on the safer at home issue, right? So the county has now instituted something along the lines of safer at home, but they do have a lot of other provisions that apply again to Opa-locka that I think are make even that have been unnecessary. But that in terms of the curfew, this curfew issue is just coming up as an issue that that the manager decided needed to be dealt with. So, again, the issue is the manager mentioned that other managers and maybe surrounding areas have certain authority. That authority is somehow given to those managers through charter, through ordinances, or through the city commission allowing it. Okay, so it has to be given somehow. You don't just have it. Even under the Florida statutes, when you look at the sections that are applicable to emergency orders, the emergency orders of emergency orders for the commission, unless those are somehow subsequently granted to the manager or assigned to the manager to act on behalf of that commission. So, you know, it's something that you all would have to do. You'll have to decide whether or not you think it's in the best interest of the city, but it's not automatic that the manager has authority outside of what has been specified by your charter or by your ordinances.
Mr. Mayor, I think I still had the floor because the manager interjected an attorney. Do I still have the floor?
Proceed, Commissioner Kelly.
Thank you. I don't know why you all keep mixing apples and oranges. I'm not referencing the ordinance of the curfew. I'm resolution number 2, talking about granting powers. That's the only item that I am referencing. And I mentioned through emails to the manager and the attorney over 2 weeks ago about trying to convene a meeting for these very same things to kind of deal with a whole myriad of issues regarding, it was told that there was no need because the manager has the authority per the attorney. Now I'm hearing the attorney saying, no, you don't have it, you gotta have a meeting. I'm not intertwining curfew. I'm strictly talking about the powers to act in reference to emergency situations. So if I'm hearing the attorney correctly, the manager has no authority for anything in terms other than purchasing or whatever on an emergency basis and come back to the commission for ratification. Is that what I'm hearing? I want to be very clear because whether it's been a hurricane, whether it's been any other kind of disaster, managers take action that they deem appropriate and then if necessary come back to the commission. He already has authority to spend up to $25,000 on a purchase, so that's not an issue. But I just want to be clear on what I'm hearing. I know there's certain things in our charter that may not be in other charters, but I'm challenged to know that we could not convene as a board for something that might rise to the level that we need to vote on as opposed to giving the manager powers. I just want to be clear on that, Madam Attorney.
If I understand your question, yes, that's correct. The last, what the manager did, and just so there's no, just so I'm clarifying, what the manager did that you'll be ratifying perhaps tonight had to do with issues that were urging, you know, a stay-at-home order, urging things, you know, something like that. And so after discussion with him and with the mayor, I said that I didn't think that the urging presented as big of an issue as something like a curfew. And so because these issues kind of keep coming up that are, you know, you're getting into areas where it's a gray area and it's not clear and it's not, you want to, and what I've advised the manager and the mayor is you want to certainly have some legislation that would actually grant the manager that authority rather than trying to read in something that doesn't exist currently. So that is my recommendation, that if you're going to, you know, it's my recommendation that if you are even on the line with what kind of authority you want to give, that you talk about that authority as opposed to, excuse me, they're trying to show me something, that you talk about that specific authority. So it's really up to you all, but the manager does need to have some direction in terms of whether he can act or not act. And my legal advice is that absent anything specifically written, other than purchasing type issues, you want to, you know, give it. And if you don't give it, you want to have meetings and you're allowed to do that on a quick notice basis like you're doing today.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr.
All right.
Mayor.
So I just want to be clear because right now I'm afraid of politics getting in the way of action. Right now within the city of Opa-locka, based upon our rules and regulations, we have no one person that has the ability to implement emergency orders throughout the city of Opa-locka. Is that correct, Madam Attorney?
You have no one person. The commission, under emergency orders and specifically 25238 Florida statutes, it grants certain powers to commissions to act. And then the commissions will then have to, however they assign those powers to the manager. Here, that hasn't happened yet. And so right now, the reason why you have these issues on your agenda tonight is the commission is acting. Right? Unless you decide to assign those powers to the manager, that has not happened yet. So Opa-locka is, all the cities are different. So you can't look at, Miami Gardens and say, look, their manager or mayor gets to act. It's a different structure. There are different ordinances, the different regulations that apply. And they're also, they may not be under the Miami-Dade County code and required to coordinate with them like we are. So those are some differences.
So very clearly, right now, there's no one person that has the ability to issue emergency orders for the city of Opa-locka.
Well, I would say similar to what the commissioner, and I kind of keep answering, I think, the same question, but similar to what Commissioner
I'm trying to get a yes or no. Who's the one person? So right now,
it depends on, I think similar to what Commissioner Kelly said before, if it is something, and I think if it's something that is, the first order was done, for instance, the first emergency order was done, it was then ratified by the commission, right? And then you had another order that was issued that you're going to have ratified tonight. It is not my recommendation that you keep operating this way. It is my recommendation that you give certain authorities so that he is not in a position of ratifying things. That's my recommendation. Or you don't give the authority, but it's something that's clear, because the way that we're operating right now, I'm concerned from a legal standpoint because I have nothing, I'm grabbing to have things to attach these powers to, and I don't want to be in that legal position. So I am urging, especially now when we're at the point where we're getting businesses asking questions, whatever your power is that you're going to give the manager, it needs to be clear so that we know how to operate going forward.
all right. And so with this order, this resolution that we're voting on, granting the city manager powers to act on behalf of the city commission, basically we are identifying one person, the city manager, to be able to execute emergency orders for the city of Opa-locka. Is that correct?
Well, yes, you would be doing that. The statute allows for the commission to do it. So if the commission does not do it, then that can be delegated to the manager under 25238. So it's up to you all whether you want to delegate it or not. Right now, the commission has the authority to issue executive orders and have those orders be effective on an emergency basis.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Burt.
Okay, I understand what's going on, but my problem is, okay, it is an emergency, but the way this is reading, okay, to do whatever, and that's a big word, whatever is necessary without the consent of the commission. Now that could have been done a little better than that, but to put that in there saying to do whatever is necessary, I have a problem with that word, whatever.
Commissioner, could you point out exactly where that is? Those, okay, on the whereas.
Under the whereas, yes.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Manager Pate.
I don't have a problem with the wording being changed. The wording is legal wording. So that if there's issues with the wording, then the wording can be changed. But I assure you, if I was advised I had powers, then the things that are being referenced would have been done 3 weeks ago. I'm being, again, as the attorney said, I'm being provided legal advice that I do not have the authority. If I do not have the authority, being told that I'm placing the city in a liability situation by doing emergency orders and ratifications are not recommended, that is that is the recommendation I'm gonna go off of. So this is all I'm trying to do, is being able to move quickly as the commission is requesting me to do by passing this. And anytime an order is done, a revision is done, something occurs, which occurs on a daily basis if everybody's been watching the news, that I will go ahead and be able to do that without having to call the attorney, get legal advice, draft it, now being told you don't have the authority, you have to ratify. So I'm trying to avoid this, because every decision, if this is not passed tonight, every decision I make, I'm being advised not to make them, and not being ratified. So if
You're
I'm
being
being
told not to
advised,
make them?
yeah, if I'm being advised that not to make decisions, and there's decisions I make, and I'm being told that, you know, hey, listen, I do not recommend you making these orders and them getting ratified, then I'm not going to make a decision that I'm being advised not to make.
Wow.
Mr.
If
Mayor,
I'm being advised legally.
Mr. Mayor.
Well,
Okay.
hold on. I want to make sure that we keep order in this. And based on what I hear from the manager, is that the manager is being advised that due to the curfew and some things that may need to be implemented, he has to go to the full commission to execute those orders. So for example, the curfew. If this was already in place, the manager would not have to come to the commission to implement this curfew.
That's not correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, all right, then explain that, Madam Attorney,
Okay,
please.
that's not correct. In this case, the curfew, because it has enforcement provisions in it that Miami-Dade County has said you need to use a specific statutory reference that has a misdemeanor attached to it. That's not something the manager could have on his own done. He could not have done that. So there are. The manager is not prohibited from acting on a daily basis to take care of issues that come up. Okay, he can take care of issues like he's been taking care of issues. The emergent issue that's before you tonight is an issue of a curfew, which he could not have done even if you had granted him authority, because that has to be done in a certain way and with certain statutory considerations. So the manager, so I think the issue is what kind of issues would come up that would, the question that needs to be asked is what kind of issues that would come up on a daily basis. The manager says things are changing daily. What kind of issues would come up that would require emergency action outside of what the manager does already? There are state laws that are in effect, there are state orders, there are county orders. There just isn't a lot of room for movement on things. The biggest thing that any cities are grappling with right now is whether they do a curfew or not. That's the only big issue that might present itself, but it's up to you all how you want to, obviously how you want to move forward, whether you want to again, grant the manager authority that will be outside of whatever he does on a daily basis. So when the manager says he keeps asking or keeps trying to do, there haven't been that many issues like that, or haven't been really any issues like that, because so many things are already required or set forth by either state law, through the governor's orders, or through the county's orders. So there's just not like a lot of things out there like that.
Mayor
All
Packard?
right, Commissioner Bass.
To the city attorney. My question is, if we were to give our city manager the power to do whatever he deemed necessary, is that pertaining only to the COVID-19 or is that across the board?
That is only pertaining to the COVID-19. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, yeah, 19. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you.
Mayor Packard.
Mr. Mayor.
Hold on, let me get Vice Mayor Davis first.
I just have a concern, I guess, with what are those exact items? Like, I know y'all said like emergency items. The only thing that I could foresee is the ordinance, which the attorney just pointed out, we'll have to vote on anyway. And I guess we all are aware that the governor is issuing executive orders, by the day now. But I guess maybe we're missing out on something. Like, do we anticipate any other, I guess, pertinent issues that we'll have to address in the meantime? Because in my opinion, I think we all have a level of confidence and faith in the manager. I think we all would like to see him respond to this matter in the most productive and efficient way. In my opinion, I feel like it shouldn't be done in the way that it's presented in this resolution. I feel like as items arise, the commission should have some sort of say so and some sort of input in the decision making that's going on. Even though we know it's time sensitive and the emergency, that's currently present. But I think we have to. I think it should be done democratically. I don't think the manager should do it arbitrarily and kind of not have the weigh in from the commission.
Mayor Packard.
Burt?
Okay, now just like you were saying, okay, this would only deal with the COVID-19, but that's not what the resolution is just saying that. It says emergency within the city of Opa-locka and do whatever is necessary. Okay, it doesn't say do whatever is necessary for the COVID-19. It's just saying do whatever is necessary. And that's where the problem is coming in. But I still say, it sounds like the attorney and the city manager is not on the same page with this. Okay, the city manager is saying he wants to move, he wants to do certain things, and the city attorney is telling him, you can't do that. You can't do this. So even with granting additional powers, that's something going to have to be worked out with the city manager and the city attorney. But this is not the way to do it. I still think the commission should be involved in everything, and nothing should be done without the consent of the city commission.
Madam Attorney, could you clarify the whatever that Commissioner Burke is referring to? Because I see that within at the end of the 6th whereas. However, in the recitals, it states that we're granting the city manager certain powers to act on behalf of the commission of the city of Opa-locka due to the coronavirus, COVID-19. And that's in section 2. And in section 3, I see that they must execute the local government planning capabilities as referenced in Florida statute and take any and all action temporary nature deemed as necessary during this state of emergency in connection with COVID-19. So I'm seeing that on one hand, but I'm hearing Commissioner Burke reference that he can do whatever he wants to do. Which one is it?
The intent is whatever's necessary dealing with the COVID-19 issue. So that could, it would be within the discretion of the manager as to whatever is necessary to deal with the COVID-19 issue.
And also he would still have to abide by all the Miami-Dade state and our local laws, correct?
Well, this is on an emergency basis. He will be able to not necessarily the whole thing with the governor's order, as you may find in the whereas clauses. It allows for you to be able to operate outside of what you would normally have as your laws if it's done on an emergent basis. And so here, the idea is that he would be able to, do things that are not necessarily prescribed in your code, or, you know, just act as necessary in order to, but it is supposed to tie in with COVID-19. And the language was put in section 3 to make clear that for us, it's a little bit different because we're supposed to coordinate with Miami-Dade County. So, so any action that's taken, let's just say the manager found that he wants to take some action, that action is supposed to be by statute coordinated with Miami-Dade County pursuant to section 252.383 Florida statutes.
Okay, so this is in alignment with what emergency efforts, unless it's outside. So the state of Florida gave local municipalities the ability to do whatever is necessary to address this COVID-19.
Yes, gave municipalities, and then it will be up to you all as to whether you want to delegate that, you know, that authority to the manager or not.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this item? So I want to move this to vote. Madam Attorney, if this doesn't pass, what does that mean?
It means that if issues come up that deal with COVID-19 that aren't already specified in the Miami-Dade County orders that have been issued and the state orders that have been issued, then the manager will need to bring those issues before the commission for consideration.
All right, so day to day, if things change, we will have to be called to try and come together and meet to address these and discuss these on a day-to-day basis.
I don't see that there are day-to-day issues like that. Those issues just really don't exist because the orders that are existing are so expansive. I have a whole notebook in front of me with various things that exist. And so in order to just, you know, my recommendation is everything is already so prescribed right now. I would be concerned that if we didn't understand, at least legal, have a clear understanding of what's going on, that we may run afoul of some of the orders that are existing. And so a way to deal with that would be, or could be, to deal with issues that may be big issues on a case-by-case basis. I don't know what those big issues could be. The manager still has the authority, obviously, to keep moving the city and do everything that he does on a day-to-day basis. These issues just not coming up like that, like what some of the fears or concerns might be. They're just not, those issues just really aren't coming up like that. The biggest issue, again, is the curfew issues. There are no other issues out there looming that present, you know, a flag emergency issue that the city is going to need to jump on right away. But if it does, you all do have the authority to meet as a body to decide whatever that big issue might be. Or, of course, you can delegate that responsibility to your manager.
Now I'm confused. Earlier in the conversation, you mentioned that the manager, that you recommend that we provide certain powers to the manager so that he doesn't have to come back and ratify. Now you're saying that you don't foresee any issues on a regular basis that will have us coming together to vote on items on a regular basis. So
yeah.
Which is it? Are you saying we should give the manager certain authority, or that we should meet when the issues arise?
I'm saying that that decision is up to you all, but what I'm telling you is there are, the manager has the power to run the city on a day-to-day basis as he's been doing. That's not, you know, that's not an issue. And from the standpoint of what issues could possibly be out there, I don't know of what issues could be out there because there's so many orders that cover everything that Opa-locka is already covered by. And so if there are some major issues, which I don't know what those would be right now, then either you could meet virtually, or, you know, you could grant the manager that authority. So I'm not you know, telling you one thing over the other. I'm just saying these are your options.
Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Manager Pate?
I would be very upfront. I'm getting conflicting information. The information is changing by the day. I'm going to continue to go off the legal advice that I'm provided. And if I'm providing legal advice that I don't have the authority to do something, I'm not going to do it. And that's just the way it is. And it's the commission's prerogative of what direction they want to go. I'm okay with special meetings being called. But if I'm being told that I don't have a certain authority and it has to come from the commission, I'm not going to do anything that I'm being advised not to do. And obviously there's a breakdown in communication here because I'm hearing 3 different scenarios. It's like the scenarios and the answers are changing by the day. And I can't operate like this, where the opinions are just changing by the day. Okay. And I appreciate the frustration of some of our commissioners because I have the same frustrations. And I wish everybody who sit in my chair understand and deal with the frustrations that I deal with on a daily basis. On one hand, I'm being told I manage day-to-day operations and I can move a certain way. In another instance, I'm being told, well, you know what? You don't have that authority. Authority comes from the commission. We just need to decide what we're going to do. But at the end of the day, if I'm being provided legal advice and we're subject to litigation, I'm not going to put the city in a liability situation if I'm being told not to make a certain decision.
Any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk, roll call.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
No.
Commissioner Bass,
No.
Commissioner Burke,
No.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Madam Attorney?
A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, ratifying the local emergency measures implemented by the city manager to the City of Opa-locka, Florida, imposed on March 26, 2020, due to novel coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Motion?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Burke. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Madam Attorney?
This item, just so you know, it does ratify actions that have been taken by the manager, but I wanted to walk through a specific thing because I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. There is, one moment, please. I'm trying to find it in the, there is, one moment, please. Okay, this is a safer at home document that has been already put in place also by the Miami-Dade County. It urges certain restrictions on movement. In addition to that, there's also a closure of certain businesses and establishments within the city. And I just want to make sure that you all know what we're looking at. Right now, Miami-Dade County, cities can be more restrictive, right? Under Opa-locka's standpoint, it can be more restrictive if it's coordinated with the county. And it can be more restrictive than the state. And just so you know, and I know one of you had a concern about the alcohol service establishments within the city of Opa-locka shall be closed to the public if they don't serve food. And so I want to just point out that right now, this previous document, that resolution that you're being asked to ratify, would in fact keep those establishments closed. They would keep those establishments closed. So if it's a liquor store, for instance, that had been operating Opa-locka, if you ratify this, that liquor store is not going to be able to operate anymore, which goes further than what the county currently has in place. And so I wanted to just make sure, you know, you knew exactly what you were voting on, because it's come up as an issue with at least one liquor store that's saying, hey, look, Miami-Dade County is allowing the sale of alcoholic beverages. And then the other thing that's come out is now there's a there's an order from the governor that talks about alcohol sales and those alcohol sales providing certain exemptions. So under the governor's Executive Order 2071, there is an exemption which allows for retail stores like standalone stores selling alcoholic beverages, if they are to be used for off-premises consumption, to not have any limitations on those. And that would be inconsistent with what you all are doing right here. Now, if you want to go forward with that, or if you want to exempt that or take it out, I just bring it up only just so you know. I take no position one way or the other, but I just want you to know what you're voting on. That's all. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. And just to be clear, from what I understand, the city manager signed this safer at home order. And in the previous resolution, we said that he does not have the power to do that. Right now, as it stands, before we vote on this item, does the city manager have the authority to close or open up alcoholic establishment businesses?
This was not my recommendation, this item. I made it very clear previously. This went forward, and now the only way to remedy it is to ratify it. And so I am bringing it to you so that you can take that action and ratify it.
Hold on. I'm confused. So I'm confused. So
yeah,
earlier you said that you wrote up this order because it urges certain things, and that is okay.
Yeah.
And now you're saying no.
Yeah. Let me tell you where I got this from. This language came from, you all should have in your packet an email from the city manager saying that he wants this done consistent with this City of Miami or thing. Now, I don't know, Mayor, how far you want to get into this with our conversation that you, me, and the manager had last Friday. I don't want to go there, but I have been consistent. I did write it up. I was asked to do that. The manager sent me the email. I did it. You passed it, and now you're being asked to ratify it. So that's where we are right now, but I wanted to bring it up because I know one of you had a concern about the alcoholic sales, and I didn't want it to pass, and then you not know that this would actually, deal with alcohol sales within the city of Opa-locka.
All right, so that would clear. As mayor, I've been on conversations with the mayors of all municipalities throughout the city of throughout Miami-Dade County. And we've been talking about measures that are being in place throughout the county. And under this, with the Safer at Home, at the moment, about when was this ratified? On the 26th. The state of Florida and also Miami-Dade County did not have a safer at home order. However, there were other cities and municipalities that did take that action for them. I shared that information with the manager and attorney, and I asked the manager and attorney, what do the city of Opa-locka have to do in order to implement something like this within the city of Opa-locka? At the time, due to the fact that we are under, I guess, Miami, we don't have emergency. I was advised that due to the fact that we do not have an emergency plan, we abide by Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County implemented an order that said that cities can be more stringent with items. When we're in reference to the alcohol thing, I actually am not, I don't care to shut down the alcoholic establishment within the city of Opa-locka, because it can be a takeout with whatever. However, I want us to be clear on what we're doing within the city of Opa-locka and what the manager has the authority to do. Because some actions that are being taken by other cities, our surrounding cities, that are more stringent, and I would not want the city of Opa-locka to be the last to act and move in this time of crisis. We already have a governor that is being hesitant to take certain actions, and also a president that has been hesitant to take certain actions. And we, as the leaders of this city, believe it is on us to make sure that we do what we need to do to ensure the safety and welfare of all of our residents. So with this particular item, if, for example, the manager deems that, okay, we can release alcohols, we can change the time. With this order, if we implement it as is, can the manager make a decision to, let's say, open up a park, or open up a park, or to limit the amount of people that could congregate, or expand the amount of people that can congregate? If we ratify this, is it set in stone until we come back again, or can the manager actually make those decisions on based upon the situation at the moment? Madam Attorney.
Okay. This only relates to the action that was taken last Friday to have a safer at home ordinance that mimicked the city of Miami's order. I'm sorry, have a safer at home order that mimicked the city of Miami. That's all this does. This ratifies that city. If you look right behind it, you're going to see the language is pretty much the same. The only difference in the language is that it urges, as opposed to Miami-Dade County made it where it was mandatory, the safer at home. What I did, because I thought I was really pushing the limit, I did tell the mayor and the manager that I felt that I made it urges, and I also made, instead of at the end where it talks about it shall be something dealing with enforcement, I made it may instead of shall. But pretty much this is the direction that I was given to put forward for the manager to sign an order. And those are the kind of things that I want to get away from. I don't want to be in the position, and that's why you're ratifying it tonight. You've already made the decision in the previous action that you want items to come back to you, but for this specific item, I'm only bringing it forward. I just wanted to bring to light the difference here. You would have a safer at home, which would be consistent with the county. It still is urging, but the big issue here is dealing with that alcohol provision, which I just wanted you to zero in on, because I think you have to make a decision one way or the other how you want to deal with that specific thing. I do recommend that you pass this. It's just that I want you to be aware of what you're passing, so that you know that it is more stringent than the state and it's more stringent than the county at this point.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Burke.
Okay, wait a minute now. You say we're in line with the county and the state, and the county is saying liquor stores could be open. The state is exempting liquor stores, and you're saying our ratification of this ordinance tonight is going to close the liquor stores down in the city. How did we get there if we're supposed to be in line with the county?
Well, we got there because this was requested and it was prepared. This and the specific language that you'll be looking at is on page 85. It's section 3, and it says closure of certain businesses and establishments in the city, and it's item number 1. And so this is something that you all are doing. I did mention to the manager that it needed to be coordinated with the county. He said it had been, and as a result, I guess the county has approved this document, and that's how you got here.
Okay, all right, let me do this. I'll make an amendment to
Mayor.
remove, I'll make amendment. Oh, you got something, Mr. Manager?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Manager.
So Miami-Dade County has done several amendments to these orders. Initially, when Miami-Dade County issued the emergency order, there was provisions that restricted alcohol sales. The county mayor did a revision to change that. So initially, Miami-Dade County did have a restriction on alcoholic sales. Then they lifted the restriction, they changed it. So initially there was a restriction on alcohol sales. So so I'm just making it clear. So the county has changed that now, where they're allowing them to be open for a limited period of time, from certain times, but initially there was a restriction. I will tell you, in the city of Opa-locka, I would recommend that the restriction on alcohol, it's not restriction on alcohol sales, it's restriction for liquor stores to remain open. It's the stores that sell liquor that do not sell food. So in essence, that's a liquor store. We already have issues with loitering and other criminal acts going on in the city right now, which is why we're going to a curfew. There's already issues with those liquor stores and individuals congregating with the liquor stores. I don't see a huge issue, and this is something we can all agree to disagree on. But I do not see an issue with keeping these liquor stores closed, because we have individuals that are coming from outside of Opa-locka, migrating to Opa-locka because we don't have a curfew. We have crime issues, the highest crime rate per capita in Florida. There's significant issues that these liquor stores are causing. So that is my stance on it. But Miami-Dade County did initially have a restriction when this first started, and then they changed it. So it's not that they never did not have a restriction.
And actually, that was my point with this, because what we're doing, what we did with the last resolution, we're basically saying that only what we say happens. So just as if the county initially did it, and then they had their mayor removed it, that authority isn't granted to anybody within the city of Opa-locka. So we will have to meet. That means, and as I said, the manager currently, and I'm also in favor of taking out alcohol, but we have to meet in order to do that. And that's the whole point of giving the manager authority to make these changes, which we decided not to do. So it's on us. So with that, I would like to make an amendment to remove the section 3(1), the closure of alcoholic establishments within the city of Opa-locka.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion? A second.
Was that a motion, or you need a motion?
Yes, that's a motion.
I second the motion.
All right, it's been moved and second for amendment. Any discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, so you're making a motion that the stores would be open?
Yes.
And that's going contrary to what your manager is saying. He wants them closed because of the challenges they're already facing. If I am correct, is that what he just said?
That is correct. That is correct.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear on that.
Hold on. Wait. The manager, you said that you would like the alcohol establishment closed?
Yes, that they need to remain closed. That is my recommendation.
All right, then I withdraw that motion. I apologize. I thought it was something different.
Wait, hold on a minute, hold on a minute. Mr. Mayor? Okay, you're talking about, business owners in the city. I mean, if they don't get it here, Miami Gardens is right next door. Okay, so you're gonna have problems. And what do we have? 3 liquor stores in the city?
4.
And you know, if you don't get it here, they're going to Miami Gardens. And then if the county has them open and the state has them open, you're looking for problems.
So, Mr. Manager or Madam Attorney, what is does the city of Miami Gardens and city of North Miami, are their liquor stores open?
I don't know.
Yes.
Mr. Pate?
Yes, they are, from the hours of 10 to 6 p.m. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., they are open,
Correct.
but they have to close at a certain time.
Correct. Now, this update, these updates were done after this. Like I said, these orders are changing as business owners start complaining. The county, like I said, the county changed their order. The state changed their step on certain subjects. So when these orders change, yeah, they highlight safer at home. But if you go deeper into the order, it also highlights the issue with liquor. So like I said, initially there was a restriction initially when this whole emergency started. Then they went laxed on it because of complaints by the liquor establishments. The only reason I'm supporting the liquor stores being closed is because the current crime rate in Opa-locka, the current violent crime in Opa-locka, the loitering that is occurring around these establishments. Right now, we already have issues in the back blues, right, with individuals out, which is hopefully this curfew, if passed, will resolve, right? But you're gonna have loitering at these liquor stores because they have the 6 feet rule. So they only can allow so many people in the liquor store at the time. You're gonna have people lines out the door of people lining up going into these liquor stores to get liquor. So, and that's gonna cause loitering. That's my recommendation. At the end of the day, I work at the behest of the commission. If it's the commission's prerogative that they want liquor stores open, even if the last item would have passed, I had no problem if my commissioners tell me to open up the store, then they open. But I'm just providing my professional opinion.
All right, so what I personally believe, and it's my commissioner, to the rest of my colleagues, I think that we as a city of Opa-locka should be in alignment with the surrounding municipalities, city of Miami Gardens, North Miami, and Hialeah. Because we are a very small city of 4.5 square miles, surrounded by these municipalities, I would not want us to be dealing with other like conflicting rules and regulations, and our officers have to deal with that. And you got people that this is a very transient city where a lot of people come in and out of the city of Opa-locka, and I wouldn't want us to be too restrictive and also not restricted enough based upon our colleagues. So that's been my constant refrain to the city attorney and also the city manager. And if it comes with this alcohol establishment, I am in alignment to me with what everyone else is doing. I do not want to believe that we have a better understanding of what's going on. I would prefer to us be in a position where we are in alignment with others. So from 10 to 6, I don't see a problem with people being able to get what they need from 10 to 6. So if there is a way, and that's what the city of Miami Gardens and North Miami has implemented, and the county, then that's what I believe we should do in the city of Opa-locka.
Mr. Mayor?
Mayor, may I?
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Flores?
Yes, Vice Mayor Davis is having some issues, so he's not on right now. If you can give us a couple of minutes to try to get him back on.
Okay.
Okay, just a moment.
y'all ain't answer the phone. Y'all sleep better than I text and called them.
Mute.
All right, I muted everybody, so everybody will have to unmute their mics so we can start back up the conversation. The floor is open.
Mayor President?
Commissioner Bass.
Yes, with all due respect, I think to put our city in the same level as other city around us when it comes to crime and all the other negative things, I think that's injustice to us because everybody knows that our crime rate is totally out of whack. If you were to just watch Facebook, all over Facebook, there are hundreds of youths just roaming the streets, just doing whatever they want to do. And when it comes to the liquor store, I really feel as if sometimes you have to stand alone to do what is right. To me, it doesn't matter what the surrounding cities are doing. If it's working for them, it's working for them. I don't think having our liquor stores open is a plus for us as a city. Because like the manager said before, we're gonna attract people that we don't need to attract at this time in our city. We know that our businesses are struggling, they want to stay open, we're all losing money, but at the same time, this is not gonna last forever. And we have to protect our citizens, we have to protect our property, we have to protect our children, we have to do a lot of work right about now. And I really believe leaving the liquor stores open right now will not be a positive thing on our city. Thank you.
Any conversation from Vice Mayor Davis or Commissioner Kelly?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, you have the floor, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, to the attorney, Madam Attorney, is there any legal ramifications of, I guess, of not letting liquor stores within our jurisdiction operate based on the executive order that we implemented and the one that was set forth by the county?
Vice Mayor, so long as this action has been coordinated, which I'm told it has been with Miami-Dade County, it will comply with the statute. We are allowed to go further than the executive orders of the state and of the county. But in the case of the county, it has to be coordinated with the county. So apparently that's already been done. So we are allowed to keep these closed if you desire to do that.
Mayor Packett.
Commissioner Burke.
Okay, see, the city attorney keep confusing me. Now she's citing the county. Now, just saying we're in line with the county, but then we can go further than the county.
Let me.
My thing is, you got to understand that the county has liquor stores open from 9, I think 10 to 6. The state exempted them. I don't know whether the state have a time or not. Remember, these are business owners as well, okay? These are business owners. And they're talking about, we have people hanging out in front of the stores. What do we have a police department for? If they're loitering, you get them to move. What do we have a police department for? You don't sit there talking about, oh, well, we got a problem. We got people hanging around the liquor stores. You got people hanging around the stores. But if the police don't enforce your no lottery laws, then what good is it? I'm saying is, if you're gonna do that to the business owners in the city of Opa-locka, and then the people can go right across the street or right across 17th Avenue to North Miami, or go across 151st Street to Miami Gardens, or go into Hialeah, it's not fair to the business owners here. That's all I'm saying. If you want to, you can regulate it just like the county got it from certain hours. We have a police department. Don't tell me about some people loitering in wrong places. We have a police department. You have a no lottery law. That's no excuse. Thank you.
Mr.
Are you
Mayor,
making a motion, Commissioner Burke?
Yes, sir. I make the motion that they remain open and the hours be from 10 to 6.
So I have a motion on the floor to amend this Safer at Home resolution so that liquor stores can be open from 10 to 6. Do I have a second? I second that item.
Discussion,
Discussion,
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
I kind of unusual position. I understand both sides. This is coming before in situations with liquor stores and the like. They are business people, and I do agree. You know, there's issues out there with loitering. Law enforcement can take care of it, but apparently there must be something going on that the managers is wanting to keep them closed that maybe we're not getting a full picture of. And I would have liked to maybe get more details. Maybe he doesn't want to share more for him to want to keep them closed. As he did mention the challenges, I guess, with, he made some example references.
Yes, sir.
So I maybe we want to hear if there's specifically some clarity that or some numbers or some whatever that he's come to that conclusion. Other than that, you know, I do recognize, and it's happened before, we close down, people go next door. And I'm not concerned about being like any other cities, because I do believe sometimes you got to stand alone. But I would not want to support 6. I would support 5 p.m. On a closure, but not 6, because I think we do need to shut a little bit down a little earlier than the normal 6. And I know y'all may not think it's a big difference, but I do think we need to be open. But I don't want to go till 6 if everybody else is doing 6. I'd rather close a little earlier. That's just my opinion. But if the manager, you know, has some more specifics that he wanted to share, why we shouldn't have them open at all, I would love to hear them. Otherwise, I couldn't support 6 p.m., but I could support closing at 5 because I think they would go right across the street. We've seen that before the situation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Pate.
So I understand Commissioner Burke's sentiments fully. Yes, we do have a police department. Yes, they do. They are responsible for enforcing loitering. Okay. As everybody knows here, our police department, our crime rate, our residents have been done a disservice for several years in regards to the public safety of the city. The average citizen of this city, youth or millennials, do not respect law enforcement, do not respect rules. I have seen our police tell people not to loiter, to move around, change your position, go somewhere else, and they go right back. Our officers are being placed in liability situations where they have to enforce arrests, such as loitering. We don't, I assure you, the officers of the Opa-locka Police Department don't have a problem enforcing loitering. What I'm trying to do is prevent lawsuits on this city, because if they enforce loitering and they're forcefully moving people from away from liquor stores or establishments or even the back blues, we can watch the video from the back blues and it shows the example how our residents do not respect law enforcement. Okay. And it might be both ends of the coin. It might be on the city's end and it might be on the resident end. But the videos on YouTube from the Back Blue shows the sentiments of our youth, of our middle-aged adults in our town. And what I'm saying is, we don't even have people that want to stay. We're urging people to stay in the house. We don't even have people that urge to stay. They congregate 10 at a time already. They stand in corners. They go to Kaboom Park and loiter. And Commissioner Burger's already told me, got on me about that. Loitering at Kaboom Park, loitering on Alabama. So what I'm saying is, the opening of the liquor stores, all it does is add additional complications to the police department. Is it their job? Yes, it is. It is their job. Do we want to put our officers in more issues or more liability situations and dealing with crowds? Because it's shown that our officers tell people to disperse, they don't. When we enact, if and when this commission enacts this curfew, you're going to run into issues. People are not going to be in their house from 10 to 5 a.m. Our police department is going to have to take enforcement action, take people to jail in order for people to get this. So I have known the difficulty since this coronavirus has been out. I've seen the difficulties of the police department. You all have seen it on YouTube. So that is where I'm sticking. That's why I'm sticking to this whole liquor store situation. At the end of the day, I will support my commission. If my commission says to open up liquor establishments and it's restricted from 10 to 5 or 10 to 6, I have no choice but to support that. I'm just urging the commission that it's okay to be different. It's okay to be different. These other municipalities do not have the law enforcement challenges that Opa-locka had. We just had 2 homicides last week.
Wonder why.
That's all I'm saying.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Pate, was those homicides connected to alcohol?
No, they weren't connected to alcohol. But I'm just giving an example of the crime, the type of crime and the type of issues that our city has. And then the city has a huge issue on loitering. And I know our commission is aware of that. They drive around, they see the city. There's an issue with loitering. What I'm saying is open up the liquor store. The county already says if a liquor store is open or any store is open, people have to be 5 to 6 feet apart. So the liquor store will have to put put lines inside the liquor store for 6 feet apart. The employees will have to wear gowns and masks. If somebody is 6 feet apart in some of these smaller liquor stores, you're gonna have people standing outside because it's gonna violate the distance. So you're gonna violate social distancing. So what's gonna happen is you all are gonna authorize, just say you all authorize for the liquor stores to open back up. They'll be open back up. The city will end up shutting them back down because they're gonna violate social distancing. They're going to violate social distancing.
Go ahead.
But again, at the end of the day, we can open them back up and we can see, or you all can observe for yourself, and then we might be having to revisit this situation because we have to enforce social distancing.
Mr. Mayor.
All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Mr. Pate, the situation in the Back Blues, did that involve alcohol?
No.
No.
Okay. Do we have a loitering issue in terms of corner stores?
Yes.
So do we enforce the same action with corner stores that we're enforcing with liquor stores? Why is there a difference between corner stores and liquor
you're saying
stores?
corner stores. Like corner stores can be considered liquor stores as well. So are you differentiating?
No, because there's a difference. There are liquor stores and there are corner stores that sell alcoholic beverages like beer and wine. And I know that within the city of Opa-locka, we do have people that like to congregate on corner stores. That happens within our city. So to me, I'm wondering, why would we treat liquor stores congregations different from corner store congregations when the data doesn't show that there's more violations or more crime in regards to liquor stores?
The only reason the corner stores can stay open is because they serve food. So, I mean, and that's a provision of Miami-Dade County of why corner stores can stay open. Corner stores sell food. That's the only reason they're open. If they did not sell food, they would be closed too. Liquor stores are very specific. They're very specific when we're talking about liquor stores. Stores that sell liquor only, no food, liquor only. So it is a difference.
Mayor Paget?
Commissioner Bass?
Just quickly, I just want to recall to everyone what we just voted. Some of us just voted down on, with the manager being able to make some of these decisions or all of these decisions. I voted against it and I have my reasons. But I would like to bring to you all's attention right now is that he is really firm on his belief in why we should close, have the liquor stores remain closed. And right now he's getting opposition. So it's like, well, what are we doing? Do we trust him to run the city, or do we want to do what we want to do? Yes, and I did vote it no, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention because he's really firm on his belief in closing the liquor store. So where do we go from here?
And I think that's the problem, because if we voted on the first one, then we will have no issue, and I will have no issue. So that the manager make these decisions. However, when we have 5 or 6 people basically trying to come on 7 coming to one accord, that's what causes issues. So we all going to have our individual beliefs, which will take this time to go through 3 resolutions. And that's part of the reason why I was supported the first initiative, because at the end of the day, it gives us the opportunity to say, hey, okay, that's what the manager believed was best. We're going to follow the manager. And I'm all in support of doing that with that resolution in place. But here we are, we're in a situation where we have basically said that we do not want to give the manager that ability to make these decisions. So now we're going to debate on each individual thing. We're going to debate on whether or not they should be open or closed. We're going to debate on whether or not 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And we got to sit here and we got to go through all these debates over and over again to come to one accord, because we do not want to give the manager the ability to make these decisions. So that's where we are right now. So the motion on the floor, the motion currently on the floor is whether or not we want to amend this, because the first motion I withdrew to open up the liquor stores completely. But then I was informed that surrounding cities have it from 10 to 6. And Commissioner Burke proffered an amendment to make it from 10 to 6. And now the floor is open for discussion on whether or not we would approve liquor stores open from 10 to 6. So is there any other discussion on this item, on the amendment?
Mr. Mayor?
Okay, Commissioner, I think Commissioner Burke had it first, and Commissioner Kelly.
Well, so the manager actually responding to my question. I had the floor and you went all over. I know it's time consuming and it's kind of off track, but he was actually responding to me before all the other dialogue took place. So I'd like to just finish on my point, which was on the resolution, on the amendment, whatever, on section 3.1, which is open back up. And you asked some of the questions, whether they reference alcohol. Please don't get these confused. This is ratifying what was already done. So don't confuse 2 and 3. The manager is saying that he wants to keep them closed based on, he believes, the loitering and police and manpower. I'm concerned that you are talking about businesses and folks will just go cross. You make a good point about the corner stores and the distancing, and they're not doing it. We need to enforce that. I would like to see, like I said, 10 to 5 time frame. And if that doesn't work or it's not working, then Madam Attorney, I guess, Mr. Mayor, to the attorney, even if we ratified this and take that out, or to add this provision to this legislation, couldn't we come back, or the manager come back, if their data suggests that this is out of control because we're allowing it to be open? Because that was my original.
Yes, sir. You could do that.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So are you asking Burke to amend it to 5, or are you going to proffer up another amendment, or you're okay with the amendment as is so that we can vote, Commissioner Kelly?
No, I still wanted the 10 to 5. I just wanted to be clear that there was no other data, but I mean, you know, you got to deal with that motion first unless he would accept the 5 p.m.
Mr. Mayor, I have no problem with the 5 p.m. as long as,
Commissioner Burke, you must unmute your mic.
okay, I'm sorry. I have no problem with the 5 p.m. We can amend it to 5.
All right, and that's where I have a problem because it's in not in alignment with what's going on across other cities. So now it closed at 5 o'clock here in Opa-locka, and then they go up to Miami Gardens and they can get it, and it's just an hour difference. So what to me what sense does that make? That's my issue with this. But we're doing tit for tat. This is what situation we want to be in. Any other discussion on this item? From amending the item to go from alcohol stores being open from 10 to 5.
So, Mr. Mayor, I understand you correctly,
Um,
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Vice Mayor Davis.
On the amendment, the time slot from 10 to 5, I don't have a problem with the 10 to 6 amendment as well. Actually, I think it's actually fair because when you think about essential employees and those who have to work oftentimes from 9 to 5 or regular business hours, we are aware, you know, the curfew is within a close window, but you still want to give an additional hour to give the same sort of opportunity. In my opinion, I don't think the hour makes that much of a difference from a discretionary standpoint. That's it.
Let's just vote it up or down. Thank you.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Burke, are you going to have the 10 to 5 or 10 to 6?
Mr. Mayor, I withdraw the 5. Just leave it at 6. The manager
Okay.
back anyway.
All right, so we're voting on the amendment to open up liquor stores from 10 to 6 within the city of Opa-locka as amended to this Safer at Home. Any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
No.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1 on the amendment.
Now we have a motion to ratify this Safer at Home order. Any other discussion on this item? Madam Attorney, if things change to this item, does this have to come back up to the commission? If any changes need to be made to this item, does it have to come back to the commission?
That's correct. It would have to come back to the commission.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Madam Attorney?
An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Opa-locka, Florida, implementing a citywide curfew for the City of Opa-locka, Florida due to the novel coronavirus disease 2019, COVID-19, providing for adoption of representations, providing for conflict and repealer, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Move for discussion.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly,
Second.
second by Commissioner Burke. Floor is open for discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
I know this is virtual time. I don't know if you wanted to say, is there anybody want to speak on this item? Because it's the ordinance, even though I don't know if anybody's trying to speak or not, but.
And Mr. Mayor, if I can just state just something for the record.
Hold on. Wait. Commissioner Kelly, you have the floor, or what's going on?
Yeah, no, I was saying to you, I know you're controlling the meeting. You make it see what I can't see. I don't know if anybody wanted to speak, because I know it's an ordinance and normally we had a public to speak. I just was mentioning that in case someone did come on and wanted to speak on the item, but I think the attorney was going to speak to that issue.
All right, so as we stated at the very beginning of this commission meeting, the public, based upon these virtual meetings and the fact that they're recorded, and the public isn't able to join in, they must submit their questions and comments and thoughts before the meeting by 5 o'clock. So that's under these special circumstances that we just read into the record. Madam Attorney, is there additional feedback outside of what you wrote up for me?
No, I just wanted the commission to know that you do have the option under emergency ordinances to pass things on an emergency basis. It is for a specified period of time. I believe it's 60 days that it will be in effect. So this is an item, basically, right now you have a current ordinance in place dealing with juveniles only, and it's for a certain period of time for a curfew. But this, of course, will be for everybody. And because it has specific provisions in it that require enforcement that could be at a second-degree misdemeanor, that is the reason why you're doing it as an emergency ordinance. Now, I do want to let everybody know that under your emergency ordinance provisions, section 4.4, entitled Emergency Ordinances, it does need to be passed with a 4/5 vote. So just so everybody is aware, this does need to be passed with a 4/5 vote. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion on this item?
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Kelly?
thank you. I'm glad to finally see this item come forward, and there's been switched back and forth on getting divided and hearing it and following through. So I'm not going to go back through that, because I actually mentioned this via email on several occasions back starting on March 23rd and again on March 26th about resolution to stay at home and a curfew. So we're kind of, as you mentioned earlier, talking about being behind the curve. We're behind the curve. Hopefully we are catching up with the curfew to catch up with everyone else. My question was to the I guess, in terms of letting folks know we're going to follow the same thing we've been doing with the code red, et cetera, and flyers and Facebook and social media in terms of so folks will know. And of course, in the media and the TV stations know, because we're one of the few cities that hadn't done curfews yet. That's to the manager.
You say you have a question to the manager?
So
Yes,
IT will do everything that you're stating, Commissioner. IT will do as soon as it's passed and the meeting's adjourned and the mayor signs it and it's attested by the clerk tonight. It will be all put on social media. A code red message will go out within the next hour. Everything, all the proper notifications will happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Attorney, if things changes within the state and the county where this has to be relieved, or they want a 24-hour lockdown order, will we have to come back in order to amend this and do that?
You would need to come back, correct?
Okay, so any changes to this, we have to come back on a case-by-case basis.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mayor Paget?
Commissioner Bass?
Yes, quickly. I was just wondering if, when this is done, how much effect would this have on our residents who live off 135th Street in the apartment complex? We've been having all those issues because I need some clarification. I don't know if they are able to congregate within their complex. I know that 6 feet apart is the social distancing that we're trying to ramp up and make sure it happens. But what say so do we have if that doesn't occur within the complex?
Is that a question for me?
Whomever.
Mr. Mayor, through the mayor?
Yes, Mr. Manager.
So based on this provision, if it's not followed, they're subject to arrest.
Okay.
And they have to be inside their apartments.
Okay.
And I'm going to be very clear with you now. You're going to have several arrests because we already went through the education phase out there. They're not following. You see the Facebook videos. They're not following the direction. So once this is enacted, come midnight tonight, the police department will enforce it. and that will lead to arrests. That's the provision. That's what's needed. Unfortunately, I've been talked to the chief of police about doing the educational phase of educating people. Making sure when you are in contact with people, to educate them on the curfew, give people chances, and then at that point, kind of enforce it. So that conversation has been already conducted.
Okay, one more, Mayor Praggett, one more question, if I may, to the city manager. Matter of fact, to our city attorney, would that be legal for us to go that far? I'm just asking.
Yeah, here's the thing. I just got off a call today, an hour or so, hour and a half call with other city attorneys throughout Miami-Dade County. I think we're all concerned about, because other cities obviously are talking about curfews. Some just haven't pulled the trigger yet to do it, but the enforcement piece is an issue. Miami-Dade County, and I've mentioned this to a couple of you already, Miami-Dade County does not want any more. They don't want misdemeanors filling their jails. They're having a problem where they're telling cities, please don't send us little things right now, because we have so many other things that we're trying to deal with. So law enforcement being involved with some of these curfews is a huge, huge issue and a huge concern. You have also police unions where they're uncomfortable with having to have too much interface, in regard to a possible arrest that they may be doing. And so the curfews, while on the surface it may seem simple, we'll just go and arrest a bunch of people, it's really not the way I think you want to go. I think to the extent that the manager can encourage people, continue to encourage people to avoid arrest, because it's a second-degree misdemeanor, and you're going to have people caught up in the system on things that law enforcement may be able to, or some cities are having the code enforcement officers out right now working, the extra hours to help educate the people and move crowds out, and or at least have code get the officers over when it's necessary. I think you just want to be very careful about creating additional problems that may not be supported by the whole system right now, and the system including Miami-Dade County and their efforts to not have their jails overfilled with misdemeanors related to enforcement provisions for the coronavirus.
Mayor Praggett, to the attorney, what would be your suggestion to us or to the city manager?
I can't, this is a legislative thing. You all live with it every day. You know what kind of issues you're facing. I can only tell you as a city attorney, and I'm not the only one there. Several of us were on the call today. We're all concerned that this may lead to just unnecessary issues and contact with law enforcement that may not have been contemplated. And so, I think education is great. I think, but again, this is something, one of those tough decisions that a lot of cities are grappling with right now. I can't tell you one way or the other what to do. I can only tell you that there's a concern out there that law enforcement may be overactive in, in dealing with this virus, and it may actually lead to unintended consequences.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Bass, are you done?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Quickly, Madam Attorney, can we implement a civil citation and another option in terms of arrest?
Well, the civil citation, and that we talked about this issue as well today, that has its own issues, which kind of end up being next to not a lot. You have to wait the proper amount of time for it to come to your code enforcement, which is 30 days. And then, by that time, what have you actually accomplished? There are some cities that have certain code provisions that allow them to link it to some things, which we don't have in our city. So it would really require me having a little bit more time than I have right now. in order to deal with how we could actually link. And it'll probably need to be some type of an ordinance, because it's going to be changing, adding something else to your code enforcement that you don't already have. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to tell you how to link it tonight. I want to kind of study what other cities are doing, but what Miami-Dade County has already recommended, and the reason why this is in here as a second-degree misdemeanor is because the manager and through the police chief has already reached out to Miami-Dade County. And I had conversations with the police chief and his staff yesterday, and what they told me was that they were told by the county that the state attorney's office is saying that anything dealing with COVID-19 to prosecute it under this specific statute. So they have, through what we're supposed to do by statute in terms of coordination with the county, we've done that. And the county is saying that if you are enforcing COVID-19, do it through this statute and we will support it. So that's, you know, that's kind of what you're left with. You could pass it like it is right now, and you could kind of know that you have that on your books in the event you really, really need it, because there's some, you know, egregious activity taking place. But what I'm saying, what I'm trying to communicate is that it would not be my recommendation that you just wholeheartedly go out and start arresting people left and right, you know, because I just don't think the system right now can support it, being jail system, and I don't think that it serves the best interest of the city.
All right, Vice Mayor Davis.
Mr. Mayor, just wanted to echo the same sentiments. I hope we could look at additional options to include civil citations as opposed to criminalizing residents. I know we want to take this coronavirus and the threat of the emergency serious, but I'm not in favor of promoting anything that would, you know, send our residents to the county jail or the criminal justice system. I would hope if we pass this item that we, I guess, I don't know if it could be, I mean, I guess it would make sense just to have it on the books, so that if it comes to that and it has to be enforced, there is some authorization, I guess, locally. But I say I'm not in favor of sending our residents to the criminal justice system for misdemeanor crimes related to curfew.
Mayor Packard, if I may.
May I ask the next question?
All right, Vice Mayor Davis, are you done?
Yes, I'm done, sir.
Commissioner Bass?
Yes, I heard what Vice Mayor said, and I agree with him wholeheartedly, but at the same time, we're dealing with a matter of life and death here. And if people are not taking it seriously, we need to take it seriously. And hopefully, if the police department has to arrest anybody, maybe one or two persons, and that would show them that we're not playing and they need to stay inside. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner Burke?
Mr. Mayor, I think, first of all, the criminal justice system said that they're urging police departments not to make arrests on the curfews. They're not saying that if you have to make an arrest, they wouldn't accommodate you. Let me tell you something. Okay, the people of Opa-locka are not stupid, okay? There was no curfew the other night in the Back Blues. Yes, you're gonna have some hard-headed individuals out there. But you got a lot of people in this city that has been waiting and urging for a curfew. Everybody in this city is not stupid. And we're not gonna sit here and just say, okay, well, the police say he's enforcing the curfew, and we're gonna sit out there, well, okay, take me to jail. No, come on, give us a little sense. But I'm just saying, Mr. Mayor, I think the citizens of Opa-locka have been looking for the curfew from 10 to 5 in the morning. Nobody have no business on the streets. And that gives the police ample authority to face anybody on the street that time of morning. The street should be shut down from 10 o'clock at night to 5 o'clock in the morning unless you're coming home from work, or unless you're going to work, or unless you have an emergency. And I'm an Opa-lockian. I can comprehend that. Most Opa-lockians can comprehend that. Give us a little credit. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, I have a question because it keeps coming up, and we've all probably seen the video, and I don't want to criminalize folks either, but I guess to the bigger picture, have we been in contact with not just that complex, but all the ones we seem to be challenged with loitering or hanging out regarding security measures, to tell them they need to, I know we passed something before, but to make sure they're adhering to that, and are they adhering to that, particularly back there, and others that we've had challenges as to the manager, because that keeps coming up as a part of discussion. Because I think the average citizen in the home, what have you, probably are, but you're going to have challenges, as was indicated in some of the apartment complexes. But they're supposed to have security already. So with us passing this and they knowing that it's passed, that should be an additional buffer before we even have to deal with it. But are they following the mandate and the guidelines that we've already put in place in terms of legislation, Mr. Manager, Mr. Mayor, the manager?
Mr. Manager.
To answer your question, yes,
What was that?
They have been in contact with apartment complex.
Sound like Wolfman.
Oh, sorry. It's my computer. I apologize. They have been in contact with apartment complexes. And actually today, I did pull that legislation from our apartment building.
We are unable to hear you. Something must be wrong with your mic. Maybe you want to cut it back on and cut it off if you have a conflicting mic out there. Maybe you're logged in under 2 different names, but for some reason, your mic is, it has an echo or something of that nature.
How is this now?
We still have an issue. Hold on one moment. All right. What we need you to do is to log off the meeting and come back into the meeting.
Okay.
All right. While the manager is logging off, Madam Attorney, I'm looking at this item, and in the backup, it has Village of Key Biscayne, and in there's a section 1548 that lays out the penalties if someone, I guess, violates, and there are staggering levels of penalties. So the first infraction, it costs $50, the second $250, the third $500, and then it goes up to where they can be imprisoned. Can we implement the same type of levels of penalties with this curfew order?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think the manager pulled this as his backup. All it relates to is just this Village of Key Biscayne. The rest of it comes out of your own code of ordinances. Only one area actually applies. I don't know why the other stuff is here, but I think he may have copied it or sent it to the clerk because it has something in it under 15-26 that deals with curfew of minors that's already existing, but these are from your own code of ordinances. This is not from Key Biscayne.
My question was, can we implement staggering levels of penalties instead of automatically, if the police see somebody, they have the right to say you're in violation because you're out at this time, you're going to jail. Can we implement staggering levels of penalties?
We have to abide by what the county has given us as the way it can be penalized, and what the manager has told me is that this is, and what the police chief actually, and the police chief's assistant told me is that this information comes from Miami-Dade County. So at this point, the direction we have from Miami-Dade County is what you see in front of you.
And I'm back, Mayor.
Okay, my question, can we, as a city of Opa-locka, implement levels of penalties with this curfew? Because I am also of the opinion that I do not want our officers going out there arresting people and sending them to Dade County Jail, even though Dade County said, do not send people to our jails for misdemeanors. Can we implement levels of penalties? First infraction, some type of citation. Second infraction, another citation. Third infraction, then to go to jail. Can we implement levels of penalties?
Again, we have to implement levels of penalties that are prescribed by Miami-Dade County, and this is what they've given you so far. So any additional discussions would have to take place with Miami-Dade County and be approved by Miami-Dade County and coordinated with Miami-Dade County prior to doing anything regarding that tonight, because right now, this is all you've been given. This is what they were told if they were going to enforce under this section. So I don't know what else I can say to make that clear, but this is what we have right now.
So you're saying that we either implement this exact language from 10 to 5. Matter of fact, I'm looking at the language. I don't even see the penalties in here. Could you point me to where the penalties are in this packet?
You need to go to the order that you're going to be signing tonight, because what this is actually, it relates to the order. And the order, you go further down under Exhibit A, because the whole ordinance references Exhibit A. The Exhibit A is the emergency order that you're recommending or that you're implementing, which all of you would be signing. And if you look at the very last paragraph, it says this order has been coordinated with Miami-Dade County pursuant to section 252.382 Florida statutes, because that's what's required. Any person violating any provision of this emergency order shall be guilty of a misdemeanor of the second degree, punishable as provided in section 775.082 or 775.083 Florida statutes. Under those Florida statutes, there are different levels of penalties, but because this is a second degree, it's going to be specific to whatever that second degree tier is.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, can somebody come and show me this, because I am not seeing that language in my packet.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, sir.
Okay. To answer Commissioner, go back to Commissioner Kelly's question. Yes, we have educated the apartment complexes. Okay. And actually today, I requested the clerk to pull that ordinance in regards to the apartment buildings. And I'm going to direct the police department to do an audit to see if they have implemented those security provisions. So we have been in contact with the complexes in regards to that. Secondly, as far as everybody's concerned in regards to individuals going to jail, I've communicated with the chief of police, and they're going to do promises to appear. So they're not going to place anybody in jail. They're going to give them a promise to appear in court. And then the only place they have to appear is court. So they're not going to take them to Dade County Jail. They will have to sign basically a ticket or a complaint saying that they will appear to a certain court date to address that matter. So that addresses the issue as far as people being arrested and sent to the county. They'll just be given a ticket and they'll be given a promise to appear, and they will have to appear in court. That's it.
Okay, that's fine with me.
Mayor Prackett, just quickly, please.
Commissioner Bass?
I don't know to whom, but I'm just going to put it out there. Would it also be advisable to the police officer that they can use their own judgment as it relates to a warning or the citation?
Yes, typically police officers are allowed to use their own discretion. Arrest typically can't be directed by a supervisor or somebody. The officer would have to use their own discretion because they would have to sign the complaint. They would have to be the one to prosecute the case.
Okay.
So no, they are allowed to. The city can say enforce this, but officers are allowed to have discretion in what they do.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Vice Mayor Davis.
Just want to say thank you to the manager for looking into this. I would have hoped we would have, I guess, enforced the loitering laws a little more adamantly earlier, so maybe we wouldn't have this sort of reaction in an emergency situation like this. I would hope that our police department used discernment in dealing with the public during this emergency matter. And I think the promise to appear approach be a little bit better fit for our community. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Any other discussion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I like Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Kelly?
Yes, I like the promise to appear. I'm just kind of like Mr. Bass. I just hope folks do take it seriously and the officer's going to use their judgment or discretion, which is good also. But I think some folks, you're gonna have to take a hard hand with them because they're going to test the water. So I guess we'll just have to see how it plays out, because in the mind of most people, curfew means curfew. But you ought to have some folks test the waters, and I don't know, saying to them a promise to appear, they may laugh at that, and the police will have to go to the next step, but at least it's a first step. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other discussion on this item? All right, so we're clear that the first step was not be to arrest others. It'll be a promise to appear, but the officers will have discretion to go higher if necessary. So thank you very much, Mr. Manager, for crafting it in that way. And Madam Attorney, with that said, no other discussion on this item.
One clarification. I just want to, just for the record, so it's clear, it's a notice to appear, just so it's clear.
Well, the chief is the one said, the chief is the one who told me promise to appear. PTA, that's what the chief said.
Okay, all right.
PTA.
Not my language.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah. So what I'll ask that you all allow me to do is to incorporate some language like that in this ordinance, because right now it doesn't say anything like that. So if that's the intent, then allow me to just incorporate that language in here so that it's clear.
Okay, I'm confused. So from what I
but now you can't, now you're directing. So that's a problem, because now you're directing a police officer of what to do. A promise to appear is a discretionary action. Right. If the police department is saying that they're instructing their officers to use promises to appear, that is a discretionary action. The commission cannot tell an officer, oh, you're going to use a promise to appear, because a person might violate the promise to appear. As Commissioner Kelly said, a person that you might give them a promise to appear, they might have a second incident with the officer, and at that point, the officer can do an actual arrest. What I said was the police department has said that they're going to, in their own internal policies and what they're doing, the first instance of interaction, they're going to do a promise to appear. For the commission to even advise the commission to direct the officer to do a promise to appear or not to do an arrest is overstepping our bounds.
No, I'm not suggesting
wait,
that.
Let me get it. My confusion was in the fact that an attorney told us that we must implement this exactly like Miami-Dade County. And we couldn't make any type of changes to it. Now I'm hearing two different scenarios. Which one?
So it's an arrest.
Miami-Dade County?
So Mayor, so a promise to appear is an arrest, okay? All it is they're signing a document saying they're gonna go to court. Instead of them they're arrested, they're provided a promise to appear. So instead of them being transported to the county jail, they're given a document to sign saying they're going to promise to appear in court. And then if they don't appear, then a warrant will be put out for their arrest. Okay. So it's still an arrest. It's just they're not being transported to the county jail. If a person is a repeat offender, right? And we've already given a promise to appear, and the officer decides to actually do an arrest and have them transported to the jail, that's the officer's discretion. All we're saying is that the police department is obligated to do promise to appears with first time incidents with people. But if this continues to happen, then they'll do the transport to the jail. But they're going to do it in a way that's organized.
Okay. So is that different from what the county has in place?
We can have more stringent, this is a more stringent policy, because Miami-Dade County doesn't have a curfew currently.
Okay. Madam Attorney, you stated earlier that we couldn't implement levels of penalties because it has to go in alignment with Miami-Dade County. You just said that you will have to make some changes for the notice as opposed to promise.
Yeah, look.
Please explain this confusion.
Yeah, Yeah, it's not that confusing. All I'm saying is, if you all are going in that direction, what the manager is saying, that he's going to do something of a promise to appear. I don't know if Miami-Dade County has approved that. I'm just assuming, and maybe the manager can tell you, but if he's saying that that's what the officers are planning to do, I'm assuming from that they've already discussed this with Miami-Dade County and they've agreed to that. So I was simply suggesting that maybe we could put that as a part of the language, since if that's the case. Now, if the manager is saying he doesn't want that in there, I'm not gonna, he's a law enforcement guy. I'm not gonna, that's his zone. So, but whatever we do, it does need to be consistent with the county. It does need to be coordinated with the county. And the mere fact that the manager spoke up to say that and knows that, I'm assuming that that's already happened. So maybe I'm making an assumption that I shouldn't make, but that's a question for your manager.
Okay. The reason why I bring this up, because like I believe Commissioner Bass and Vice Mayor Davis said, we do not want to criminalize our residents. I know arrest goes on people's records. Misdemeanors go on people's records. And ideally, we do not want to criminalize people if other steps can be taken to where there's a level of penalties. But if you're saying that there is no opportunity for us to implement something like that, and that we must abide by Miami-Dade County, then I'm all for it. But if there is a possibility of not criminalizing our residents, I would like to figure that out. I'm willing to move on this now, but if there is a way to not criminalize our residents during this time and give levels of penalties, I would like us to move on that and at least figure out what we need to do to put that in place. So,
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
So what's been approved by Miami-Dade County is that the person shall be guilty of a misdemeanor if they violate the provisions that are contained in the emergency order. So they shall be. So it's just, so whether they get arrested or not is what the manager is saying. He's saying they're not going to be arrested, but they're still going to be a part of the system. They're going to have to go to court. It's going to be considered they'll be charged with a second-degree misdemeanor. The state attorney's office will prosecute them. They will, if they are deemed to be, now there may be, they can prove that they were getting ready or engaged in essential travel. And so therefore, maybe they have a defense for it. But if they don't, and it's somebody who is loitering or something else, some of the things that you all were talking about, then that is going to be a second-degree misdemeanor unless they have a defense for it. So when you say you won't be criminalizing it, people, I just want you to know it's all, whether they get arrested or not is the only issue here, and so I'm assuming that's already been worked out and Miami-Dade County has approved that. That's great. And that's what they're planning to do. Wonderful. You can pass it. It will be on your, on your books, but just know that it's all a part of criminalizing, because that's the very nature of what you're doing by instituting this curfew that has a, has a penalty provision in it.
Any other discussion on this item? Madam Clerk?
Vice Mayor Davis,
Yes.
Commissioner Kelly,
Yes.
Commissioner Bass,
Yes.
Commissioner Burke,
Yes.
Mayor Pygott.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. So currently right now we have a curfew in effect in the city of Opa-locka. The safer at home order within the city of Opa-locka. To all those in the community, everyone, please do your part. We're going to execute these items tonight. So we are here to make sure that during this time and this crisis that all of the people in the city of Opa-locka are protected. So please abide by them. Please be safe at home so we can make sure that we all live good and can survive and thrive here in the city of Opa-locka. So with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move it.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Burke. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good day.